After the transition, Elisha stayed to course. Even the servant of Elijah was trying to disturb or trying to frustrate or trying to stop Elisha from following Elijah. But Elisha was a man who was determined to win the prize, or determined to do what God has called him to do. So many a times we should understand that when God chooses us or calls us, we shouldn't give up, or we shouldn't allow distractors to take us from where we are called to go. Because whatever stage we find ourselves in life is a transition point. We are not called to remain at one particular location. And Elisha knew that. So when Elijah's servants was trying to tell Elisha not to go where Elijah was going, he said, silence or shut up. Sometimes it's necessary for you to tell people who try to stop you, shut up. Because they are dream killers. They will try to frustrate you not to go to where God has called you to do. So I titled myself on 5 steps miracle plan, because when you're able to go through the 5 steps where Elisha followed Elijah from one point to the other, you know that a miracle is at your reach. But you don't end there. Number 2 is step 2 is when you decide to go to Bethel. Bethel is so powerful, but it's sad that these days men and women of God, we fail to go to Bethel. Because Bethel is where you go and meet God. If we fail to meet God at Bethel, we can never know what God has called us to do, or we can never execute what God has really entrusted into our hands. Jacob wrestled with God at Gilgal. That was where his name was changed from Jacob to Israel. So there's something unique about Bethel. I'll come to that point. And the third step is Jericho. And Jericho is like a battleground. Yeah, we all have been there before. Because there are times in life that you think like everything is just going bad. People are just, against you. Wherever you turn, there's always problem. And you are not getting things right. It's a battleground. Jericho is just a place to test your faith. The 4th step is Jordan. Jordan is a place where we are close to our blessings. Sometimes when we get to Jordan, we fail to see that our blessing is close. You can be at the promised land, but you can never get there. But at Jordan, what you have to do is exercise your faith and know that you have been through Gilgal, Bethel, Jericho, and Jordan is where you are about to cross over to receive your miracle. So these are the 2 great men of God, Elijah and Elisha. I wish God would raise men like Elijah and Elisha in our time. We're going to see or hear a little bit about why they are so unique and why they did great things. And then you can decide or kind of find out why these days we cannot see such miracles or such great things taking place in our life. But these are great men of God. I love them so much. One, both of them are men who love God. Both of them are great Old Testament prophets. They all have a name which starts with Eli, which means God, or God is a salvation. Both men are men who believe a miracle, and a miracle did happen in their lives. Both men are men who are ordinary people, but they did extraordinary things for God. As a matter of fact, Elijah is compared to John the Baptist, and Elisha is compared to Jesus Christ. So, here is Elijah, and the reason why he did so great things in the eyes of God, he defended the faith. He defended God at all times. He stood for God. He hated Addo worshippers. These days, we can't even talk against evil things going on. Elijah is a man who prayed for fire to come down. And then he prayed again that there will be no rain for 3.5 years, and there was no rain. These are things that really happen. So Elijah is a man just like you and I. So this Elisha, another great miracle worker. He believed in miracle, and God used him to do tremendous things. He raised the dead. He used just one oil to fill a bunch of oils. There's so much unique things that we can learn from these two guys. But my focus will be on Elisha. Because when the story started, they were studying at Gilgal. And Gilgal was the place they first, started the journey. They started the journey at Gilgal. And the servants of Elijah came to Elisha and said, look, your master is about to be taken to heaven. Stay here. Stay at Gilgal. But he's on a mission to Bethel. But Elisha didn't take their word. He followed them. He followed where Elijah was going. You can decide to do something at Gilgal, but Gilgal can never be the place that mission will be established. I quite remember when I first got born again. At my Gilgal, I repented, I cried, and then I decided to follow Jesus. One day in the Bible studies, I met a guy who has been in the faith for a long time. And then he shared his testimony with me. He told me how he was visited by God in his room after praying and fasting. So I said, whoa. And he told me some beautiful things that happened. I said, okay, if God is alive and he did it to him, he can do it to me too. So I listened to what the guy told me, and I decided to do the same. I fasted for 3 days in my room. I was praying. And lo and behold, when I finished praying, I was in my bed and my eyes was open. It wasn't like a trance, but all I saw was that a wind was just blowing the whole room, and I heard an audible voice.
Yes.
A voice like a mighty ocean, repeating himself about who he is. God describing his awesome presence in my life. So I had a validation from God, and I knew that this was God, because this voice is not an ordinary voice. So at your Gilgal, at your Bethel, you must understand that you must meet God. And also, it's important for you to know that sometimes you must seek second opinions. But it's also tricky though, because you can meet the wrong people and they'll give you a bad advice. So we understand that when we get to Gilgal, when we get to Bethel, there are people around us that we should be able to approach. like mentors, people who have been in ministry for a long time, people who are very open-hearted, and you think they can be of a help to you, they can give you a guide, they can give you, encouragement and stuff like that. You need to meet them at Gilgal. I'm sorry, Bethel. I keep saying Gilgal. It's Bethel. So Bethel is a place where we meet God, we meet leaders, we meet people in high authority, we meet mentors to shape us in our life. Because it is necessary for us to do that. But when we get to Jericho, Jericho is a time that stiff opposition will take place. Whether you like it or not. We can never get things easy all the time. There are times that God will allow certain things to happen in our life for a reason. So we can be strong. So we can know that it doesn't matter what goes on in our life, He's still God, He's with us. He said, even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, He is with us. We should fear no evil. He said, no weapon that will form against us will prosper. But everything that will rise against us in judgment, He will condemn it. So we have an assurance that at our Jericho, there is somebody who is beside us. And He will never leave us nor forsake us. He said, even though your fathers, your mothers will forsake you, but I, the Lord, will never leave you or forsake you. Your friends can forsake you. But God said He will never leave you nor forsake you. So at your Jericho, it doesn't matter how strong the battle is. It doesn't matter how difficult the challenges are. And it doesn't matter how long it will take you to arrive at your Jordan. But still, God will be with you in every step of the way. Because He is the one who has called you. You haven't chosen yourself. So God is on our side when we are at our Jordan. I don't know how long it will take you to stay at your Jordan, at your Jericho. Because sometimes God allows you to stay at a certain place for a reason. But whatever it takes, God will still defend you when it comes to that stage. At your Jordan, there's time for you to exercise your faith. Anytime you get to a place where you are stuck between the river and you look behind you, you see that there's enemies are attacking you or whatever, you must understand that you are very close to your blessing. The people of Israel left Egypt, and when they were going to their promised land, the Bible says that they were stuck between the Red Sea, and behind them, the people of Egypt were coming after them. But whilst the people were crying to Moses in fear, Moses spoke to God. Sometimes when we are in problem or we're going through challenges, we don't cry, we don't murmur, we don't complain, and then we share all our weakness to our enemies. No, it's time for us to speak to God. Because He knows what we are going through, but He still wants us to speak to Him. Because He is able to do exceedingly and abundantly, above all we would think or even imagine. So when Moses opened his voice and spoke to God, God gave him an answer. He said, stretch forth your hand. And the sea divided. So at your Jordan, when you are able to exercise your faith and stretch forth your hand, there will be miracle. Miracle will follow you when you do that. I like miracles, actually. Because the country that I was brought up, we live by miracle. In Africa, if you preach and if there's no miracle, people will not even come to your church.